When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Comms YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be looking at House of the Dragon, and we're going to be looking at all the characters, ranking them in a tier list. I will say I'm going to put all the dragons in F tier, which is more like going to be NA. I just want to do the characters, we'll do the dragons in maybe a future video if you guys like this one well enough. And I also want to say, this isn't the fourth time I've tried to record this intro, so we finally got it. But yeah, I'm also going to put on the screen what was the community's ranking. So we did a live stream and we went through all these characters, and I didn't vote. It was just the community, the chat was voting. And I want to show you guys that on screen right now. And I want to tell you guys there's going to be some differences. So I want you guys to take a good look here, see what you guys like, dislike, because we're going to compare it to my list at the very end. We're going to go through, as I'm going through all these, kind of talking about which ones that I disagreed with, I thought were maybe right, weren't right. And we're going to kind of go through this fairly quickly. But before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment, please do. It helps channel grow with your people that might like this content as well. And let's get into the tier list. So I'm going to say right away, we've got our boy Clubfoot. So I think in the bracket that we did, we had him in B, and I think that's a fair spot. I think B, he hasn't had the most amount of screen time. He's a character that just disappears for episodes, but then he comes back as a major episode. He wasn't very prominent in the early episodes, so he's a character that is definitely going to probably move up, I would hope, on this tier list as the seasons go forward. But he is a character that I think right now he's above average. I don't think he's in the C or D range. While we're here, I'll move all the dragons into the F tier, which is just going to be NA. Just think about this as the tier that like is non-applicable. They're not really in this tier. They're just there because whoever created this put them in here. So Clubfoot to me definitely has a lot to go up. I think Clubfoot was leaning A for me, and then they had the whole foot fetish scene, and now Clubfoot's kind of become a meme. He's just like foot boy. So for that reason, I think he is in B. Again, let me know down in the comments what you guys believe on all these. But our boy Viserys is S. I think he's number 1. These also are not going to be like in particular order. So they'll all be on the same tier. But Viserys, I just want you guys to know, is number 1. Best acted character on the show. Really carried season 1 at times for me. And one of the best, not one of, the best change from Fire and Blood to House of the Dragon. They expanded upon his character and did a fantastic job. And we will miss Patty in season 2. Kristen Cole. So Kristen Cole for me, I would say C tier. He's a bit more relevant to the plot, so that's why he's not in D. But this character is so one note. After basically he has his whole breakup with Rhaenyra, he's a very one note character who really doesn't have anything interesting going on. He's just a dick the entire time. I really don't like his character. I don't think he has a good character arc. And again, I want to preference this by saying there are going to be characters on here that I don't particularly like them as a character or as a person, but they have intriguing character motivations. They have a good arc. They have this, they have that, right? Kristen Cole has none of those. He's kind of a bit more relevant to the plot, and that's why he's in C. That's really the only reason why he's not in D for me. Let me know what you guys think about that. Lord Beesbury. I know Chow is a bit different on this. I think they had Beesbury in C or B. Beesbury is irrelevant to the plot for the most part. Like, he has very little scenes. I think he has literally one scene where he talks, and that's the one where he dies. Its death scene was really underwhelming. It was just very comical and bad. That's really all I gotta say. There wasn't a whole lot here with this character, and maybe he could have been C or B if his death was cool and they'd given him more screen time, but they didn't. So he's a character that unfortunately is going to end up in my D tier. I love that he supports Rhaenyra and he stands up for her, but at the same time, I can't put you on the same level as Kristen Cole. Your importance to the plot and your character arcs are just nowhere near the same. Moving on, we're going to put the twins in C. I couldn't really, like, where's the other twin? Hold on. They really are basically don't have any character development in this season. I mean, they have a little bit of screen time here and there, but nothing crazy. They're not super impactful to the story up to this point. So I think C tier is fine. They're a step over Beesbury because, again, they have a little bit more impact than Beesbury, and they don't die stupidly or anything like that. So I'm fine with putting them on C tier because they are likable characters. I like their characters. I just wish we got more of them. And I think that puts them on a decent little part here with Kristen Cole, where Kristen Cole, relevant to the plot, but is a terrible character arc, terrible plot, and just a terrible human being in general. Orwell. Again, D. Really has added nothing to the plot so far. A very irrelevant character that we haven't spent much time with. Hopefully, he will move up as we go on. But as of right now, very irrelevant character. Helena, Helena, I'm not sure how you say her name, but she got a lot of support on the live stream. A lot of people loved her. I think we ended up putting her in A. I don't know if I'm going to do that. She's a character that is relevant to the plot, right? She's one of the children of Viserys and Alicent, and she has had a decent amount of screen time. We've seen her as maybe having some green dreams, kind of being seeing the future maybe, which is a very intriguing plot, and they've kind of built her out to be a little bit more interesting than I think her book counterpart is. And I think she is one of the more likable characters in the show so far, so because of that, I think I put her in B. I know I'm going to get a little bit of hate for that one, because I know my audience was very much... My audience on the live chats and a lot of characters was very all over the place. You'd have some people being like S, some people would say A, some people you had all the way down to D, C, like it was all over the place. But for me, I think B tier with an upward trajectory, just like Clubfoot. They're two characters that I think both of them could go up from here. Jace. So Jace is another interesting character. Hasn't got a ton of screen time. Like, out of all of Rhaenyra's children, I think he's probably got the most screen time. I'm not sure about that because they did add a lot to Luke's in the finale, which for obvious reasons. I don't know where to put Jace. I really like Jace. I think he's going to be a very good character. I really am intrigued by his plot when he goes to the Vale and the North. So I think they've done a good enough job with how he's trying to take, command, trying to be the rightful heir, and doing a great job trying to be perfect, right? And the flaws of that. And I think, for me, he's right there with kind of Helena for me, where I like both of their characters. We just didn't see enough of them for them to be an A or S. Aemond. So Aemond's another great character to me. It's a tough one, because I think for me, he's probably A. The only reason I think he's A for me is I'm a little scared to see where they're going to go with this character, and I also don't like that it was an accident that he kills Luke. I think they can definitely make that work and have this be an S tier character, but for me, he's an A for right now. We didn't get a lot of him. We get a lot of him in episode 9, but besides that, it's a lot of him staring and being menacing. We see early on that he's bullied. There's a lot of good foundations for Aemond, and I don't know if I'm ready to put him in S yet. I think he's an A tier. He's right there. He's on the cusp. And I want you guys to know this for right now. I think there's only 2 S tier characters in the show. So if that helps you guys understand my ratings a bit more, where I feel like I'm a bit more harsh than I feel like a lot of the general audience, where I'm a bit more reserved or patient on putting characters in S, because a lot of these characters have the trajectory of up. A lot of these characters, I think in season 2, Aemon's going to be here. I think, these characters could be here in season 2. But I think for season 1, we didn't get a ton of Aemond, where Viserys was a standout for the entire season, right? His impact is felt everywhere. He has a great character arc. So for me, I like Viserys in S tier, and I think that's a fine place. Laenor, another tough one. We don't get a lot of Laenor, really. I mean, if you really think about it, we get Laenor in, I think, episode 5, and then we see him a little bit throughout 6, 7, 8. He's prevalent in those episodes. I like his changes from the book. I like that they expanded on his character a bit more. And I think in the live chat, everybody decided to go B, but it was a very decisive, or it was a very uneasy B. I think he was one of those characters a lot of people were leaning towards C or B. And for me, I'm going to put him in C. He's a very impactful character to the story, but his ending, to me, makes him go down to C. The way they ended his character leaves me with a lot of question marks on his whole character arc. Is he going to come back, which I think he will? How is that going to affect his dragon, Sea Smoke? I have a lot of questions with this character, so I decided to put Laenor in C. And I know this is interesting because he's on the same tier as Kristen Cole, and they both, I think, for season 1, serve around the same purpose of being that love interest type thing for Rhaenyra, even though Laenor, it does not swing that way. They both kind of serve that kind of role, where Kristen Cole, I think, for this season, probably should have been up here, but the way they just did not do his character well, he ends up down here. Laenor, I think, would be up here if he had gotten a good ending, which I don't think he did. So for me, he's in C. This is a tough one. So Harwin is literally present for basically a single episode. He is probably the father of Rhaenyra's kids. I think it's like 95% that he is the father. But the problem here is he gets only one episode to develop before he's killed off. So I don't know where to place him here because he was a very likable character in, I think it's what, episode 7 that he's killed off, if I'm not mistaken. So he has one good episode, and then we just never see him again. And even in the episodes before that, a big complaint I had was that they didn't establish Harwin Strong at all, right? He really was not, he didn't have a single conversation with Rhaenyra, he didn't really have any dialogue. So for me, I'm very much hovering between C and D because he's not as irrelevant as these two characters down here, but he's not, in my opinion, as relevant as someone like Kristen Cole, Daemon's Children, or Laenor. And I think some of these characters have had better arcs, like Laenor. I'm going to give Harwin Strong C, but I definitely think he's like in between like a C minus. Rhaenys. Now, this is a weird one. Rhaenys in the live chat was a D. And I understand why people gave her a D. Her whole plot in episode 9 was awful. It completely butchered her character. And then episode 10, they really didn't address it either, and they kept it just as a question mark as to why she didn't kill the Greens. I know there's like a one-line explanation, but it's a very loose explanation, and there should have been more conversation along those lines. I don't know if I want to put Rhaenys in C because, again, I think the actress that portrays her does a fantastic job. And for the most part, up until that episode, she was a character I would have had around this area. The reason I wouldn't have said S is because we don't get enough of her, right? My complaint, if you look at the first 5 to 6 episodes, was always, where is Rhaenys? Why aren't we getting more Rhaenys? And I think for me, she's C. I don't know if she's a redeemable character, as in, can Season 2 improve her and make her go this way? I don't know, because whenever I see Rhaenys now, I'm going to be thinking about how she could have ended the war and kind of the reasoning behind that and how she kills innocent people, and there was really no repercussions to that. So I think for me, Rhaenys is in C because she's a character that I like, but because episode 9 butchered her character arc and her story, and she's almost been used as a plot device at times, she's in C. Now, the reason I also like Rhaenys is all her conversations with Corlys are fantastic. Give us more of that. Give us more of Rhaenys with her family, and I could definitely see Rhaenys moving up here, but for season 1, I got Rhaenys down here at C, and I know she's a bit more valuable to the plot. She's a much more established character, but the way they did her character arc, I just think she's a C. Alicent. So this might be another divisive take, but I'm going to put Alicent in A. If you would have told me this at the beginning of episode 8, Alicent would be here. These two would be like interchangeable to me, right? But because of episode 9 and kind of the ending of episode 8, she is just a character that flip-flops so much, and she's just a character that logic just doesn't apply to her at times, where she makes this decision where she's like, okay, we're going to train Aegon to be king, all these prior episodes, and then all of a sudden in episode 9, she's like, wait a second, Aegon's not supposed to be king. Have you guys all been plotting behind my back? Like, it's just weird the way the show frames her character at times, where in one episode, she's mastermind, she's taking her role as the lead of the Hightower family, and then the next episode, you just have her being confused, conflicted, like she wasn't planning things episodes prior. And I've talked a lot about why that is and in past videos and streams, but I think for me, she's a solid A. I think, you know, if they can kind of fix her character a bit, bring her back in, and have her kind of being the badass, which unfortunately they've missed a lot of Allison's badass moments where we see Allison being this really political mastermind alongside of Otto. They've kind of taken away a lot of those moments for me. So to me, she's an A, but I think she could go up in season 2. Otto is our only other S tier character. This might be a surprise because I know a lot of you guys know that I really love Rhaenyra. Daemon is still on this list right here. Otto Hightower, to me, a perfect adaptation from House of the Dragon as well, or perfect adaptation for Fire and Blood to House of the Dragon with Otto Hightower's character. Exactly how I thought of him as a character. He's a character that we understand his motives. He's basically our season 1 villain, quote unquote, right there alongside with Daemon and the Crab Feeder for a single episode, basically, but we're not going to talk about that. I just noticed Crab Feeder's not on here. So while we're talking about Otto Hightower, Crab Feeder would be a D tier, just letting you guys know. Otto Hightower, to me, the political mastermind, he gives me the very Tywin-esque maneuvers where he's trying to get his family into a better position. And I really love the way he takes control. And it's what Allison kind of should be doing, but she isn't. And I don't like the whole Green Civil War type thing going on at the end of the season. But whatever. I still think Otto Hightower, fantastic character, fantastic performance from the actor, and great character arc and or development. Aegon II. Another tough one, because I don't like Aegon II. I don't really understand why we needed to show that he is basically a rapist, why he's making children fight. I mean, he's a very cruel character, and because of his significance and who he is as a character, and I think C tier. I can't put him up here. I just can't. He's an irredeemable character because of the way of, I mean, he's not a great guy in the book either, but they've blatantly made him just a character I can't root for, or even, like, maybe not even root for, but a character I can't even fathom being any type of morally gray. He's just evil. And he's not like the Joffrey evil, because they're trying to make him sympathetic. They're trying to do things like that, and it just doesn't work for me. So I think Aegon is in like a solid C tier for me. Lord Commander Westerling, I don't know, D, C, T. I'm going to put him in D. I don't understand why the Greens would let him leave the Green Council with all the knowledge he has. 2, why doesn't he show up later on with Eric at, you know, the crown ceremony? That would make logic sense. He's not that big of a character either. He doesn't have a big impact on the story. So to me, I think D tier. Let's just move on. Lena. Lena is a very good character that we don't get enough of, in my opinion. Her death is a little weird. I think putting her in here at C tier just makes sense. That's kind of how I feel about a lot of the Velaryon family as a whole. I like a lot of the Velaryon family. We just don't get enough of them, right? They just don't get a lot of screen time, and we don't get enough development. And for me, with Elena in this season, and she ends up dying, so this is pretty much where she's going to be. Very unfortunate, but that is where she is. Luke. Luke's tough. I would put him right here with Jace, because Luke gets about, I would say, a little bit less development than Jace does. But Luke is a character that they try to build up in episode 10, that he's this very sympathetic character, how much definitely establishing his relationship with Rhaenyra, and his death is a bit heartbreaking as well. And also, it's a major plot point that will be the entire focus of season 2. So his significance is tremendous. It's not more than maybe characters like Aegon, who's below him, or a character like Rhaenys, but he is a character that is likable and also has a huge impact on the actual story. So I think it's fair to put him in B. Let me know what you guys think on that one. So this is going to be an underrated character, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't know, but Lionel Strong to me is an A tier character. It's weird because I'd probably put him at like B+ if that was an option. I think I'd have him like in between, because he's definitely, I don't think he's definitely on the I don't think he's on the level of a character like Alicent and Aemond, but he's also, I think, a bit higher than kind of the kids and Footboy. So to me, when you look at Lionel Strong, he's a character that was hugely impactful to Viserys. His conversations with Viserys and him in the small council meetings, fantastic. Seeing Lionel Strong understand what's going on with the Harwin Strong plot, fantastic. I really love the performance, and they give a lot more to Lionel Strong than they do in Fire and Blood. And I really loved this character. This is one of those underrated characters for me that maybe I just have a bias and I just personally love this character. But this is, I think, where we had him on the live chat ranking as well. But I think this is a fair placing for Lionel Strong. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Mysaria. I am going to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the accent that Mysaria has. I know this isn't her actual like voice, so I'm not insulting the actress or anything. I just didn't buy into the accent for me. And also, we didn't see much of Mysaria. We see her a little bit fooling around with Daemon, and then we see her like 2 or 3 other times the rest of the season. Very minor character for this season, which is very odd because like the live chat talked about when we did the stream, she was marketed as being a huge character, and in this season, she really wasn't. Like, they kind of shoehorned her into the plot in episode 9, and I was just like, whatever. I didn't really like the whole plot of, oh, we all gotta find Aegon. Like, it was just, eh. So, to me, Mysaria's D. She definitely could go up as the seasons go on, but for me, right now, she's just in D. Didn't really like her character, didn't like her portrayal, she wasn't really impactful to the story that much. So yeah, I think D tier is fine. Daemon. Now this is one where I'm gonna get a lot of heat for. I already know it. This is why I kind of put off doing this one. Daemon to me is B tier. He's cool and he makes scenes fun, right? He is the character that we just don't know what's gonna happen with him. And I like that about him, but also him as a person, his whole character arc and plot is just bad at times. Like he's just a comical villain that is just I don't really care for. And he's a badass, don't get me wrong. Daemon is a badass. But I can't justify putting him on the levels of a character like Alicent, who is one of the most complex characters in the entire show for the first 8 episodes, and I think probably she is probably the second most complex behind Viserys, and I can't put him behind Aemond, who has a very compelling character arc that's been built up so far, while also being a badass. Daemon really just he's a badass for going for him, in my opinion. Like, he's just kind of the fun character, but he's also this character where every time he comes on screen, I'm like, do the writers hate Daemon? He's weirdly cut, especially in the last episode. He's a character that is just, I don't know what motivates him. He's just a selfish character. People like to defend that, oh, he's a family guy. He actively works against his family. He makes Viserys' reign a living hell. He chokes his wife out in Rhaenyra. He kills one of his former wives in the Vale. Is he really for his family? He neglects his children. He just is not, he's like Aegon a little bit. Except Aegon's more of a badass, so that's why he's in B. And we see Daemon a lot more because he's the main character outside of like Rhaenyra, Alicent, Viserys. I know this is going to get a lot of heat. I know. I am not a huge fan of Daemon, and this is coming from someone in the books where my favorite 2 characters in Fire and Blood were these 2, Rhaenyra and Daemon. Those are my favorite 2 characters in Fire and Blood. So for me to put him in D, or not D, B, tells you a lot about how I view the show's portrayal of this character. And we'll get into Rhaenyra in a second, but that's where Daemon is for me. I know you guys are probably going to disagree. Let me know why you guys think maybe Daemon should be higher or lower. Corlys. A character we needed to see more of. I love the portrayal of Corlys. I love the actor that plays Corlys. I love nearly every scene we get with Corlys, but we don't get enough of him. He's hugely impactful. And for that reason, he's going to be around, I think, A tier for me. A, B, I don't know. It's so tough because he's just not there for certain episodes. I'm going to put him in B because we don't see enough of him. But this is a character that should be up here. By the end of the series, this should be a character that's up there. Corliss, the only thing I'm going to say that holds him down from being higher is we don't see a lot of him. He takes hiatuses on the show where we don't see him. Not showing the War of the Stepstones really hurts his character because it establishes him as a commander, his power. We don't see it. There's just a lot of things that House of the Dragon did to, I think, in my opinion, damage House Velaryon and how they could have really built them up in this season. Rhaenyra, my favorite character on the show, my favorite character in Fire and Blood, my favorite Targaryen. She's an A. You guys thought that was leading to S? No, she's A. I'm going to put her right next to Alicent. Her and Alicent, both are flawed characters. These are your two main characters, really, of the story so far. Rhaenyra, to me, just hasn't been enough. They haven't leaned into her character enough. They've made her clearly the protagonist, and I hate that. One of the things that I love about Rhaenyra as a character is that she is someone that's very morally gray as she gets older, right? So a clear thing I'll always talk about when I talk about Rhaenyra that you can point to in Season 1. When Vaemond, so that's this guy, we'll get to him in a second, when he is basically saying, oh yeah, he should be the person in charge of the Velaryons and not Rhaenyra's children because they're bastards, what Rhaenyra does is she goes behind everybody's back. She doesn't get Viserys' approval. She gets Daemon to go kidnap him, and then she kills him and feeds his corpse to her dragons. This also then prompts Viserys to cut the tongues out of 5 of his cousins. Do you guys think we would ever see that Rhaenyra in the TV show House of the Dragon? No. So I like in the book where she's a character that's kind of a fallen character. She's a fallen protagonist in Fire and Blood. In House of the Dragon, she's just a straight protagonist. And that is what causes the Greens to need to have some morals. They have to have something like come back, right? Where Alicent has to be this conflicted character that instantly doesn't want to start the war because they have to balance out the two sides. And because of that, Rhaenyra becomes a very good character that is just a fan favorite. Everybody loves Rhaenyra. She's definitely the main character. I don't know. To me, I don't like that. I think they should have dived a bit into Rhaenyra's actual morals and her morally gray things. I know we have the whole idea with Laenar, but I think that was stupid in my opinion. I want to see Rhaenyra do more. I want to see more of Rhaenyra, and not more of Rhaenyra as in screen time. I want to see more meaningful Rhaenyra character development. And they did a really good job of this, in my opinion, in the first couple episodes. And then you really started to see as they just made her the main protagonist and really didn't go deeper into her psyche. The Lannister brothers, just D. I mean, they don't really do much in the series so far. They're pretty irrelevant as of right now. They haven't gotten much screen time either. So I think D is fine for both of them. Vaemond, C. He was like a mid-season kind of villain that we needed. Didn't get a whole lot of character development. Again, as you can tell, this is the Velaryon tier, the C tier. Like, they weren't bad, but they needed more screen time. More time to develop his motives as a villain. I think he is a very compelling villain in the episode that he was the villain in. In episode 8, he was very good, but we didn't see enough of him. We needed more of Vaemond. The twins. So, I think it's fair to just put them both in C. We just haven't seen much of them. We've only seen them for really like 2 episodes. Haven't gotten enough from either one of them. I feel more inclined just because I'm a black supporter to put them in B. But I think they're fine in being in C. We haven't seen a lot of them. Not the most impactful characters as of right now, even though he does bring the crown for Rhaenyra. As of right now, this would be my list. So I'm going to put up the tier list again from the live chat, and you guys can compare. One thing you'll notice is I was a bit more strict on my list. I only let a very few amount of characters into my S and A tier. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset with the placement of Daemon. I know that. And that's just how I view this list. But thank you guys all for watching this video. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys want to do your own tiers, for this, it's a on tier list, right? If you guys want to send me your tiers. You can do that as well on Instagram. Or you can do Twitter as well. I'm not as active on Twitter. I'm not a fan of Twitter, if you guys want me to be honest, but I do check Instagram quite a bit. So if you guys want to add me on Instagram, the link's in the description. You guys can send me your tiers, and I'll tell you what I think about them. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.